All right, everybody. I want to welcome you to the beginning of the simple 6-step system for getting your business back on track. I am absolutely thrilled that you have chosen to be part of this program and a part of this process. If you don't know by now, my name is Kevin Weir, and I'm a licensed business coach, and I'm going to help you get the business that you want, or at least getting it turned back around so that you can achieve your dreams in life. So let's dive into this right now. So what are we going to cover today? Today's an introduction to this whole program. So we're going to start off with, what are you going to learn how to do? What is it specifically that you're going to learn in this program so that you can implement them into this knowledge into your business? What kind of outcome should you expect? Now remember, it's going to be different for different people. But I know that if you apply these principles properly, you will get what you need to get out of this whole program. We're going to orient on available content today. So I'm going to give you a preview of what's going to be available for you to download and to utilize. And finally, your mindset during this program. What has to happen between your two ears for this to happen? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you right now, if you don't have the proper mindset going into this process, nothing's going to happen. So let's go ahead and get rolling today. First of all, let's keep this number one principle in mind. Learning must be fun. Now, when you remember growing up, do you ever remember the boring lectures where the teacher or the professor got up and said, wah, 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 wah? Probably not. But did you remember some of the fun learning activities that had an impact long-term on you? That's the kind of learning we want to have. Let's make this fun. So there are going to be challenges and frustrations throughout this whole process, and guess what? That's okay. You're going to be challenged. You're going to hit your head up against a couple of brick walls as you go through that, and that's to be accepted. Here's the key. When you hit frustration points, you have to ask yourself, am I going to push through that? So here's the thing. Don't quit on yourself. When you get to that point and you get to that frustration level, you can either quit and go into failure, or you can push through to get to success. What I'm going to ask you throughout this whole process is to push through to get to success, and don't quit on yourself. So, what are we going to learn through how to do in this whole process? Well, first of all, we're going to learn how to self-assess your own business. Think about this. It's sort of like giving yourself a physical exam. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, I did my annual physical exam, and I had a doctor poke and prod me, did blood tests, did all sorts of things to see that I'm still in really good health. Well, we're going to show you how to do that for your own business. So you're going to do a first aid and physical checkup on your business. We're then going to work at getting your finances under control, because as we're going to talk about in our first module, is that without money and without cash in your business, nothing happens. We're also going to help you take control of your time, because this is a principle I want you to understand. You can always make more money, but you can never make more time. So we're going to work at having you take control of your time. And so what else are we going to learn? We're also going to learn how you get your customers to fall in love with you all over again. It's sort of like when you met your boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, and you just absolutely fell in love. And maybe for some of you, one day they became almost like the furniture. They were just there. Now it's the same thing with a customer. Customers fell in love with you, couldn't wait to do business with you. But after a while, they just kind of treated you like the woodwork. Maybe they even treat you terrible. So we're going to learn about how do you get your customers to actually fall in love with you all over again and do more business with you than maybe they've ever done before. We're also going to help you develop your business DNA. In other words, what is your business all about? What's the core thing that's most important for your business? See, one of the things that I have noticed out there is so many businesses really don't have any core principles or core DNA. They are pushed by every sort of wind that's out there. A new idea, an employee who pushes you in your direction, a fad, whatever. We're going to work at helping you develop that business DNA. And finally, we're going to talk about how do you assemble a right professional team. And I'm not talking about employees, I'm talking professional advisors who are going to help you get the most out of your business, because in the end, you can't do this alone. So, what is the outcome that we're going to get, that you're going to get from this whole process? So by completing the simple 6-step system for getting your business back on track, first of all, you'll have a blueprint for saving your business from potential failure. Think about this. You did not go into business to fail. Nobody goes into business to fail. But we already know the statistics that tell us that 90% of businesses typically will fail within the first 5 years. Now, if you're within the first 5 years, or you've been in business for 20 years, these principles are still going to be the same. So we're going to have you develop that blueprint. You will develop some skills and strategies for actually consistently turning a profit. Because remember, we're here in business to make money. At the end of the day, you need to turn a profit so that you can achieve the business of your dreams. So we're going to work on that. If you're already turning a profit right now, wonderful. So many failing businesses that I know of are not turning a profit. You will also start reducing the stress in your life. So what's stressing you out? What's holding you back? And then also you will set yourself up for future business success. Now obviously this course is about how do you stop the bleeding and get your business back on the right track. But that's going to be the platform for you to achieve the business dreams that you've always had. So what cool tools are you going to be getting through this whole process? Well, first of all, you're going to get some easy to use break-even calculator. It requires only 6 simple numbers to figure out numbers. Only 6. I need to correct that there. Only 6 very simple numbers to figure out what you need to put in there. It's going to be really easy. Trust me. We've worked on the process here, so it's something you're really going to enjoy. Simple as pie budget tool that won't have you pulling out your hair, but it's actually very effective, because this is the one thing that I've learned over the years. And a good friend of mine who's also a business coach, she told me this once. She goes, you know what, Kevin? Simple is sophisticated. Too many tools out there require a level of complexity that most people won't use. And this is very true with budget tools. So you're going to be provided with a very simple budget tool that's easy to use, and yet it's quite effective. I'm also going to help you with an easy to implement time study and skill fund matrix, showing you where you are wasting your time. Because one of the things is, just as I talked about, so many times we waste time and don't get the most productivity that we can get out of the time that we use. So you're going to be able to utilize that, and I'm really excited for you to use it. Slick as snot time effectiveness system that will help you stay on track with your daily activity management. I love this tool. This is a color-coded tool that's going to help you figure out how you're using time, and then self-track yourself and color-code the process so that you know where you're using time well and where you're not using time well. We're going to provide you sample scripts that you can use to change everything on how you communicate with customers. See, one of the biggest challenges I see out there is that either yourself or your team have never figured out the most effective way to communicate with your customers, and therefore you may be stepping on it and not even realize it. And finally, we're going to do some done-for-you keywords and culture statements so you can implement those immediately. What sort of things need to be in an excellent culture statement so that you can maximize the effectiveness out of being able to change your business DNA? So, what kind of mindset must I have in order to get the most out of the 6 simple step system for getting your business back on track? So let's talk about that. So first of all, we're going to talk about a concept called above or below the line. So as you see on the screen here, there's a line, and this is what we call the line of decision. When you are below the line, you blame others for your problems. You know, who's ever heard of this before? Well, it's so-and-so's fault that didn't get done. Show of hands. I'm sure most of you are showing your hands out there. Or how about excuses? Well, it would have gotten done if not for ... Okay, show your hands. Ever heard that one before? Or denial. You know, here's one that I've heard a number of times. I've heard this. It's like, Kevin, you know, I work 85 to 90 hours a week, and you know what? It doesn't really bother me at all. And my response is, well, great. I'm glad it doesn't bother you. So let's drive to your house. Let's sit down with your spouse and kids, and let's see if they're okay with those hours. Ouch. Because think about this. Denial is the most insidious of these below-the-line issues because it's so easy to justify. See, when you are below the line, you're what we call a victim. So how many of you know victims out there in society? Probably all of you do. As I love to say, the biggest collection of them sit on the stage of the Jerry Springer Show. And if you've ever seen the Jerry Springer Show, that's a whole lot of below-the-line individuals who have spent their lives pointing finger at others. So let's talk about how do we deal with below-the-line issues. Well, we need to get above the line. See, when you're below the line, everything's about reasons. But what we want to do is we're going to get above the line so we take ownership for everything that we do in our business, both good or bad. Because what are the two words contained in ownership? Own and ship. You own your own ship. Therefore, you're accountable for the results that you get. And therefore, you're also responsible for the results that you get. See, here's the thing, is at the end of the day, the decisions that you make in your business are the ones that you own. When you realize that, you have become a victor. You're the one that says, you know what? I am not going to play the victim in life anymore. I'm going to make decisions because it's not about reasons. It's about results. It's about the results that you want to get. If you also want to go ahead and take a look at this, if you take a look at OAR, you know, above the line, you put your oar in the water and you're moving it. If you're below the line, BED, you've made your bed and you have to lie in it. So what I want you to do is constantly think about, what am I going to do? Oh, let me go back here. What am I going to do to be above the line at all times? This is a mentality that you have to have. And if you have team members, one of the things I'm going to encourage you is to take this concept, show your team this concept, and start helping your team be above the line. But remember, you as the business owner, you have to be above the line first and foremost. Can you do that for me, please? Thank you. Appreciate that. So to make sure you get the most out of this program, one of the things you have to do is you have to get rid of what I call the I knows. Now, here's the thing is, how many of you have teenagers out there? Some of you may have teenagers, some of you may not have teenagers. I used to have teenagers and they're now young adults. I used to hear this all the time. Yeah, Dad, I know. Well, here's the problem is every time they told me I know, it blocked learning. So the whole problem here is that your key is that you need to basically get rid of the I knows so that you can open yourself up to learning. Problem is that when you have the I knows, anything else that could be taught to you just bounces off, and nothing ever happens. So I want you to get rid of the I knows that you may have and open yourself up for learning. So now what I want to do is, what do I want out of this program? So what I want you to do is, I want you right now to grab a piece of paper. If you're around your computer screen, or if you're watching this on a cell phone, doesn't matter. I want you to go find a piece of paper. What I want you to do is, I want you to go ahead and I want you to write down, what do I want out of this program? Now, you bought this program for a reason. What is it? I want you to be as specific as you can. The more specificity, the better. Is it that you want to grow your profits by 50%? Do you want to be able to completely save your business from bankruptcy and turn a real profit no later than X date? What does that look like for you? It's going to look different for different people. So here's what I want you to do. Now that you have your paper and pencil, I want you to go ahead, put this video on pause, and I want you to write those down. So go ahead and do that right now, and then I will be here when you come back. Okay, now, hopefully you've got that down. You've written what you want to get out of this program. So why did I just have you do that exercise? Good question. See, what I'm doing is I'm helping you set up your reticular activating system. It's the compass for your brain. See, here's the whole idea is that when you set some goals for yourself, you are going to go on the right track. You know where you're going, and you're going to get there. So the whole idea is that if you know where you're going, you're more likely to direct yourself there. Here's a good example. How many of you have bought a vehicle in the past couple of years? Probably most of you. So when you bought your own vehicle, what did you notice all over the road for 30 days? Probably the same kind of car that you're driving right now. Well, that's your reticular activating system. That's a compass for your brain. When you write down specifically what you want to get out of something, you're more than likely to get it. If you don't do that, your brain's going to wander all over the place. So what I want you to do, as you continue to watch these videos and implement the things that I have you do, I want those things that you wrote down right in front of you, either on a piece of paper, on a computer screen, on a corkboard. It doesn't matter. What do you want to get out of this program? Get your brain and your reticular activating system in place so that you get what you need to get out of this program. So here's the challenge that I also see is a lot of times there are a lot of problems on planet Earth. Is that when you run from your problems, they just bop you on the back end. See, how many of you out there have tried to play the avoidance game? Well, I'm just going to ignore that problem. And how many of those times those problems came back and haunted you in the future? Probably a good portion of you. See, here's the whole thing is that when you run from your problems, they just get bigger. So when you travel on the roadway of life, here's the thing, is that you're going to have taps on the shoulder. And then if you ignore the taps on the shoulder, you're going to get whacked with a 2x4. And if you ignore those 2x4s, you're going to get hit with a Mack truck. Now let me give you an illustration here. Let's first of all talk about health. Let's say that taps on the shoulder are chest pains. And you figure, I'm just going to ignore it. It's probably just indigestion. And all of a sudden, you have a heart attack, which is you're getting whacked with a 2x4. But let's just say that you get out of the hospital and you go back and you start gorging on McDonald's food and drink nothing but chocolate milkshakes and ignore every piece of advice the doctor asked you to do. Then that Mack truck is going to hit you with the big heart attack and you're dead. Now let's talk about this in relation to business. Let's say taps on the shoulder are lack of cash flow. And you go, it's just seasonality, it'll go away. And then you get whacked with a 2x4. You can't make payroll, so you go out and borrow money to make payroll. But you know what? that's okay. I'm sure everything will be fine. And then all of a sudden the Mack truck hits and you have to declare bankruptcy and close your business down. You see, right now, it's so much better that you deal with the issues when you have the taps on the shoulder than trying to deal with it when the Mack truck is 2 inches from your grill. So I'm glad that you're taking action, but I want you to keep this principle in mind as we go forward. So I want you to feel the taps. I want you to see the signs and listen for those changes that you need to make. Remember, you learn to walk by falling down. Think about this. If you have a child out there and that child stood up for the first time, did you yell and scream at that child, "How dare you fail? How dare you fall down?" Well, of course not. See, you remember, you're going to fall down every once in a while. See, but if the same is true in life, business, sales, marketing, creating wealth, you're going to make mistakes, but you at least are dealing with it. So here's the challenge. When you're ready to make a change, like you are right now, the reason that you have decided to sign up for this program is you're ready for a change. Here's the formula that I want you to apply. So this is what we call the formula for change. D times V plus F must be greater than R. So D stands for dissatisfaction, V stands for vision, F stands for first steps, and R stands for resistance. Because think about this. If you take a look at mathematical equations, there are two sides of the equation. On the one side you have R, resistance. We all have resistance in life. So now the question is how does one overcome resistance? There's two ways you overcome it. You either lower your own resistance, which most people really don't do very well at, or you work on the other side of the equation. So you then increase your dissatisfaction, you increase your vision, you have to increase your ability to take first steps in order to overcome that resistance. Now let me give you this illustration. Let's say smoking. Let's say the doctor tells you that you need to quit smoking, but you have inherent resistance to quit smoking. So what do you have to do? You have to increase the dissatisfaction of you and cigarettes. You have to increase the vision of what life would be like to be smoke-free, and you have to take the first steps to make that happen. Let me give you this example. Let's say that you just start developing this horrible dissatisfaction with cigarettes. Ooh, I hate them. But you develop no vision of what life would be like to be smoke-free. Are you going to take first steps and overcome resistance? Probably not. Conversely, let's say you have a great big vision of what life would be like to be smoke-free, but you know what? There's no dissatisfaction. I'm okay with cigarettes. Are you going to take the first steps? More than likely not. Now, conversely, let's say you do develop a horrible dissatisfaction to cigarettes. You really develop a big-time vision of what life would be like to be smoke-free, but let's say that carton of cigarettes that's sitting at home doesn't get flushed down the toilet and it's still there. Are you going to overcome resistance? Highly unlikely. Now, it's the same thing then in business. You have to increase the dissatisfaction of where you are right now. You have to heighten the vision of where you want to be, and you have to then take first steps because the resistance to change that you have has gotten you to where you are now. Yes, that may sound hard, but I've got enough years of experience to see that's one of the biggest challenges that business owners have. So now it's time to get into action. So the next module is going to be our starting point here, and we're going to talk about how you can take control of your money. I'm looking forward to seeing you around the corner at our next module.